You're protecting a girl like I want to protect Robyn. If you love my daughter, then you'll love her as much as I loved her mother, and I kept my hands off of her until we were married.
There is a particular kind of intimacy that thrives on performance. A bond sustained not by affection, but by the applause it receives. Cody and Robyn Brown were once the crown jewel of televised polygamy, a pair who smiled too hard, clung too long, and mistook infatuation for divine destiny. Now, the performance is cracking. Their once coordinated devotion has curdled into mutual disgust, and every strained kiss on sister wives plays like a requiem for a marriage that died long before anyone admitted it. The spectacle of their relationship has become an inadvertent documentary on denial. The eyes give it away first. Robyn's, dulled by contempt, flinching at his touch. Cody's, manic with the desperation of a man trying to convince himself that he's still adored. What began as a competition, Robyn, crowned as the favored wife among 3 rivals, has dissolved into a claustrophobic duet between a narcissist and his reluctant captive. She no longer beams for the cameras. He overcompensates with juvenile groping, manic laughter, and declarations of passion that reek of self-hypnosis. Every gesture screams the same truth. They are both performing for ghosts. Robyn's disdain is physical. She recoils from him with the instinct of someone who has realized, too late, that her prize is a punishment. The self-proclaimed favorite wife now sits beside a man who mistakes neediness for masculinity. Cody, once surrounded by 4 women competing for his attention, now has only one, and she's visibly counting the minutes. The dynamic that once fueled their romance, the thrill of exclusivity within plural chaos, has collapsed. Without rivals to despise, Robyn has lost interest in the victory she once demanded. The irony is exquisite. Robyn entered the Brown family as the supposed redeemer of Cody's fractured household, the demure outsider who would restore harmony. Instead, she became its executioner. What she wanted was not unity, but hierarchy. Polygamy, for her, was never about faith or sisterhood. It was a theater of dominance, a social pyramid with herself at the apex. She wanted to be the adored wife, not the only one. Without competitors to measure herself against, the game has no meaning. Her unhappiness is the natural byproduct of winning a contest that should never have existed. Cody, meanwhile, is still haunted by the echo of his lost harem. He once fancied himself a modern Solomon, surrounded by adoring wives, his ego inflated by constant validation. Now the audience has left the stage, and the applause has stopped. His behavior has turned grotesque, an endless parade of sexual boasts, forced laughter, and manic declarations that their love is still hot. His obsession with sex borders on the pathological. He speaks of it not as intimacy, but as proof of virility. One can almost see the panic behind his eyes when he realizes Robyn isn't impressed. Every narcissist fears irrelevance, and Cody is living his. His fixation on physical affection, especially his public demands for it, reveals not desire, but desperation. When Robyn resists his advances, he turns the moment into a televised therapy session, explaining her aversion as shyness rather than revulsion. He cannot comprehend that she simply doesn't want him. Their every interaction now feels like a hostage negotiation between delusion and disgust. The relationship's foundations were never romantic. They were transactional. Robyn entered the family drowning in debt, seeking stability, status, and the spotlight. Cody, meanwhile, saw in her a mirror reflecting back his fantasy of being desired. Together they built an empire on television, one part family, one part cult, all spectacle. But as the lights dimmed and the paychecks thinned, the illusion began to rot. Theirs was a marriage sustained by external forces, cameras, contracts, and the envy of 3 other women. Strip those away, and what remains is 2 people trapped in a feedback loop of disappointment. The cruelest twist is that Robyn's suffering is entirely self-inflicted. She isolated her children from the others, erecting invisible walls while pretending to crave unity. She crafted a narrative in which she was the misunderstood saint, victimized by jealous sister wives. But her manipulation was transparent. Every act of martyrdom calibrated for sympathy, every tear weaponized for effect. She wanted to be worshipped, not loved. Now, with the congregation dispersed, she sits in her mansion surrounded by dolls and self-pity, wondering why the applause has stopped. Cody's delusion is more theatrical but no less tragic. He genuinely believes that enthusiasm can replace substance. In his mind, every failure is a perception problem, something that can be fixed with more talking, more grand gestures, more hair flips. He cannot grasp that the women who left him did so not because of editing or envy, but exhaustion. His self-image depends on being desired, so he rewrites rejection as rebellion. His endless monologues about loyalty, family, and divine order are less sermons than self-soothing rituals. If he repeats them enough, maybe they'll still be true. The result is a kind of emotional taxidermy. Cody and Robyn continue to parade the carcass of their marriage for the cameras, stuffed with rehearsed affection and shellacked with denial. Each episode becomes an exhibit in the museum of their own delusion. Here we see the couple pretending to flirt. Note the defensive laughter. Robyn plays her part with sullen detachment, her every sigh an act of spiritual eye-rolling. Cody, too vain to admit defeat, keeps performing the role of devoted husband with the frantic energy of a man auditioning for a part he no longer believes in. Their mutual contempt is palpable. Robyn's sadness isn't grief, it's boredom. She wanted the chaos, the rivalry, the feeling of being envied. What she has instead is a balding zealot reciting compliments like prayer beads. Cody's sadness, in turn, is humiliation. He traded 3 wives for one, who now treats him like an embarrassing uncle. His attempts to prove their love, public affection, forced laughter, endless declarations, only make her recoil further. It's a tragicomic feedback loop. His neediness deepens her disgust intensifies his neediness. The cycle is excruciatingly public, which makes it even more delicious. Observers might be tempted to pity Robyn, trapped in her gilded cage. But pity implies innocence, and Robyn forfeited that long ago. She orchestrated her own confinement, mistaking manipulation for strategy. She wanted to control the narrative, but now she's living inside one she can't edit. The woman who once weaponized tears now looks genuinely hollow. Her sobs no longer rehearsed but habitual. Even her depression feels performative. Another scene in the never-ending drama of being misunderstood. Cody, ever the showman, responds not with empathy but competition. Her melancholy steals attention, and attention is his oxygen. So he compensates by boasting of virility, by sermonizing on loyalty, by treating his midlife crisis as a spiritual awakening. Watching him is like watching a man argue with his reflection, loud, defensive, and futile. The more he insists that their marriage is perfect, the more unhinged it appears. Their dynamic has become the most revealing case study in performative narcissism modern reality television has produced. It's not love, it's theater. A 2-person tragedy in which both leads are trapped by their own need to be seen. Robyn needs to appear the martyr. Cody needs to appear adored. Both are addicted to illusion, allergic to introspection, and incapable of recognizing that the show ended long ago. The moment the lights dimmed, Cody Brown's grandeur began to wilt. A man once buoyed by the chaos of 4 orbiting women now finds himself performing monogamy like a Shakespearean fool who forgot his lines. His decline is not sudden but glacial, the slow implosion of a personality built entirely on attention. Cody's crisis is not that he has been abandoned, it is that he has lost his mirror. The women who once reflected his imagined greatness have walked away, leaving him face to face with something he cannot stand to see, himself. He reacts to this void with the desperation of a man selling snake oil to an audience that no longer believes in miracles. Having mistaken sexual access for authority, He parades his need like proof of vitality. His fixation on physical intimacy, boasted about, dramatized, and broadcast, is less desire than panic. The fading patriarch clings to the only measure of worth left to him, whether anyone still wants to touch him. When Robyn flinches, his ego convulses. He presses harder, performing affection as an act of dominance, as though enough theatrical kissing might resurrect the myth of his desirability. It is not love, but necromancy. Every narcissist eventually discovers that applause is a finite resource. Cody's supply once came easily, each wife competing for his time, each child a prop in his parable of fatherly wisdom. Now the audience is gone. His confessionals are soliloquies without witnesses, half sermon, half tantrum. The self-declared prophet of family unity sits in a mansion of echoing rooms, preaching loyalty to the last woman willing to tolerate him. The irony is almost biblical. Robyn, for her part, has become the high priestess of buyer's remorse. She won the throne she schemed for and now finds herself ruling over dust. The empire she envisioned, filled with adoration, hierarchy, and televised harmony, collapsed the moment her rivals stopped playing the game. Deprived of competition, she has no role to perform. The favored wife is now merely a wife, and she hates it. Her melancholy reads less like heartbreak than withdrawal. Having fed for years on comparison and resentment, she starves in the quiet of her own success. Her response is strategic inertia. She will not leave, she will simply stop living. The house becomes her cocoon, a mausoleum of consumer excess. Dolls, jewelry, overpriced decor purchased as proof that abundance still equals happiness. She moves through it like a ghost polishing her own headstone. To the public, she insists that monogamy feels lonely, that she misses the plural ideal. The truth is less poetic. She misses the audience. Being envied was her oxygen. Being alone is suffocation. Psychologically, she has quiet quit the marriage, a term better suited to employment but tragically apt. She fulfills the minimum duties of affection, enough to maintain the illusion of domestic stability, while emotionally, she has clocked out. Cody senses this abandonment and panics, mistaking her indifference for modesty. He fills the silence with self-affirming noise, grand declarations of eternal love, exaggerated laughter, the manic cheer of a man whistling past the graveyard of his own charisma. Together, they form a closed circuit of mutual depletion. His neediness provokes her contempt deepens his need. Each clings to the other not out of devotion, but inertia. He cannot bear to lose another mirror. She cannot afford to lose her benefactor. Theirs is not marriage, but mutual hostage-taking under the banner of faith and finance. The erosion of desire is written on their bodies. Robyn's once performative affection has turned mechanical, her smiles delayed, her eyes darting for escape routes. Cody, increasingly manic, performs youth through volume, the hair dye, the tight shirts, the adolescent innuendo. His sexuality has become a nervous tic. Watching them attempt romance is like observing taxidermy with sound effects, motion without life. And yet they keep buying things, as though commerce might conceal decay. Each new home, each indulgent purchase is a monument to denial. They do not invest in therapy or introspection. They invest in square footage. When happiness falters, they acquire another symbol of success, a bigger house, shinier decor, a new excuse for debt. Their consumption is psychological camouflage, a way to drown the silence between them in the hum of delivery trucks. Robyn's attachment to material comfort is both survival strategy and self-punishment. She knows leaving would mean work, responsibility, the risk of public humiliation. Staying offers safety cloaked in martyrdom. She can sigh through every episode, perform exhaustion, and still cash the check. It is easier to play the weary saint than to be the unemployed ex-wife of reality TV's least eligible man. Cody, meanwhile, performs opulence like a stage prop. His purchases, tools he doesn't need, art he doesn't understand, are less about pleasure than power. To own is to exist. The man who once commanded 4 households must now prove relevance through possessions. Even his cosmetic tinkering, teeth, skin, hairline, reads like an existential cover-up. He is attempting to renovate the facade of a house condemned from within. Psychologically, they mirror each other's pathology. Robyn needs to be adored to justify her sacrifices. Cody needs to be adored to justify his existence. When adoration fades, both collapse inward. Their interactions resemble a therapy session conducted by 2 patients and no doctor, each diagnosing the other while avoiding self-reflection. She calls him exhausting, he calls her shy. Both are correct, and neither listens. The public sees the symptoms, her recoiling, his manic devotion, their synchronized misery. But beneath that lies a deeper rot, the loss of narrative control. For years they dictated the story. Robyn as virtuous newcomer, Cody as misunderstood patriarch. Now the camera captures what they cannot script. The grimace after the kiss, the sigh before the confession, the hollow laughter that follows every declaration of eternal love. Reality television, once their playground, has become their mirror, and the reflection is unbearable. Their attempts to reclaim dignity border on parody. They speak of reconnecting spiritually, of rediscovering joy, as though enlightenment were a camera angle. But their every gesture betrays the truth. This is survival, not redemption. They remain together because collapse is untelevisable. Divorce would end the show, and ending the show would end the illusion that they still matter. So they perform devotion as an act of professional maintenance. The tragedy, of course, is that they have become exactly what they mocked. Cody once derided monogamy as a spiritual limitation. Now he is trapped in its dullest version. Robyn once claimed polygamy offered eternal sisterhood. Now she shops online to fill the void. Their faith was never theological. It was theatrical. They worshipped the god of relevance, and that god has gone silent. Every public appearance now reads like a morality play about narcissistic depletion. Cody, the fallen patriarch, rages against the loss of his harem while insisting he is happier than ever. Robyn, the self-proclaimed empath, weeps on cue but never leaves the stage. They are co-addicts sharing the same drug, attention, and suffering synchronized withdrawal. Their marriage endures not because it works, but because neither can survive the detox. The decay is visible in small moments. The way Robyn corrects him with maternal patience. The way he interprets her fatigue as flirtation. The way both speak in cliches about working through challenges. Their intimacy has devolved into PR. Each episode becomes an advertisement for a love that no longer exists, directed at themselves more than the audience. See, they insist, we're still special. The insistence is the evidence of collapse. In clinical terms, their dynamic is a closed system of narcissistic reinforcement. Cody's ego demands admiration. Robyn's self-image depends on being the long-suffering victim of his chaos. He needs her submission. She needs his absurdity to justify her martyrdom. Remove one, and the other loses identity. They cannot love or leave each other, only orbit in shared dysfunction until the ratings or the finances run out. This is not a partnership, but a psychological terrarium. 2 organisms feeding on the vapors of their own self-importance. The air grows thinner each season, yet they continue breathing it, mistaking suffocation for stability. There is no passion left, only ritual. No belief, only branding. And as their egos decay, the world watches the spectacle with morbid fascination. Not out of empathy, but because nothing reveals the fragility of ego quite like 2 people pretending it's love. Every delusion leaves debris. What remains of Cody and Robyn Brown is less a marriage than a salvage site of failed myth-making. The television lights still burn, but they illuminate nothing holy. only two exhausted performers rummaging through the wreckage of a narrative that once made them feel important. For years, the show served as their cathedral. Its cameras blessed every tantrum, sanctified every self-pitying tear, and converted dysfunction into currency. When the audience believed, the couple could mistake spectacle for substance. Now, even that illusion trembles. Viewers no longer see passion or faith. They see fatigue, clutter, and the slow decomposition of self-image under studio lighting. What Cody calls transparency has become televised mortification. He still treats the camera as confessional booth and mirror. Each interview is a sermon to a congregation of one, a desperate attempt to reestablish the theology of Cody, that he is misunderstood, magnificent, still the spiritual head of a family that fled. He invokes loyalty, divine order, and masculine destiny, yet every sentence drips with panic. His self-definition depended on being the sun around which several wives revolved. With the solar system dismantled, he mistakes artificial spotlights for cosmic relevance. Robyn remains the most pious of converts to this dying religion of visibility. She speaks of persecution, of outsiders who don't understand. But persecution loses power when no one envies the throne. The self-appointed queen now rules over emptiness. No sister wives to compete with, no communal energy to siphon. Her life is a museum of loneliness arranged with designer throw pillows. Even her sadness seems curated, an aesthetic of exhaustion she can display without altering. Together, they reenact a morality play about the perils of believing your own publicity. Each insists they are working through challenges, yet the work is purely performative. Cody's hands reach for her. She folds her arms. He laughs too loudly. She winces. He narrates passion. She edits reality with silence. The marriage endures only because both are terrified of what ending it would expose. That love was never the glue. Attention was. Money, of course, is the final adhesive. Their mansion is both fortress and stage set, financed by the very exposure that now humiliates them. Every mortgage payment buys another episode of denial. Without the show, they are ordinary people with extravagant bills. With it, they remain the tragic royalty of a collapsing empire. The audience, once complicit, now watches like coroners, counting how many more seasons until the corpse is declared. Their spending habits reveal the pathology more clearly than any confessional. The compulsive purchasing, dolls, furniture, shiny trinkets, mimics emotional hoarding. If they cannot possess affection, they will own objects. Each acquisition functions as a sedative against self-awareness. The garage full of useless tools, the over-decorated rooms, the endless parcels arriving at the door. All of it testifies to the same belief that ruined them, that value can be purchased, that abundance equals worth. Robyn's shopping is mourning in disguise. Every package promises the hit of novelty once supplied by rivalry and applause. Cody, meanwhile, adorns himself like an aging rock star afraid of the quiet. Even his rumored cosmetic alterations, the suspiciously tightened features, the dental overcorrection, read as spiritual panic attacks. He is at war with entropy itself, convinced that if he polishes the exterior enough, the emptiness inside will hush. What neither seems to grasp is that the show no longer protects them. It documents their deterioration with forensic precision. Viewers have become analysts, parsing microexpressions for evidence of contempt. Each grimace becomes data, each hollow kiss a footnote in the long study of ego rot. The couple, trapped in their own documentary, must now live inside the evidence of their undoing. In the ecosystem of reality television, that exposure is poetic justice. They weaponized transparency for profit. Now transparency devours them. The authenticity they once feigned has finally arrived, stripped of glamour and mercy. The camera that made them mythic now makes them human. Too human, sweaty and desperate and painfully ordinary. The spiritual patriarch is merely a man who cannot stop talking. The dutiful wife, a woman calculating the resale value of loyalty. There is, however, a strange equality in their downfall. For once, neither dominates. The power struggle that defined them has ended in mutual erosion. Robyn's manipulative grace and Cody's bombastic pride cancel each other out, leaving two people orbiting a shared emptiness. They are united at last by exhaustion. Their affection has fossilized into ritual. Holidays staged for tradition's sake, apologies issued for the cameras, vows renewed not out of faith, but out of fear of the silence that would follow. Even their children sense the farce. The younger ones fidget through scenes like hostages of televised therapy. The older ones have fled, building real lives unfilmed. The parental dynamic has inverted, Cody pleading for relevance, Robyn scolding him with maternal condescension. He clings to fatherhood as a brand. She curates motherhood as martyrdom. The result is a household that feels less like a family and more like a prolonged exit interview. Every attempt at renewal, new house, new confession, new storyline, merely deepens the tragedy. They keep changing scenery when the rot is in the script. The problem was never location. It was delusion. The relocation from Utah to Las Vegas to Flagstaff, the dream of Coyote Pass, the endless fresh starts, all variations of the same prayer, that geography can succeed where introspection fails. It never has, and it never will.
The ultimate cruelty of their saga is that it fulfills the warning they once preached against, that selfishness destroys plural love. Cody accused his first wives of disloyalty. In truth, they simply tired of orbiting a man who mistook vanity for virtue. Robyn accused them of bitterness. In truth, she weaponized their fatigue. Now the cycle closes. The man who demanded worship kneels before indifference. The woman who sought dominance presides over decay. The gods they served, ego, envy, attention, have exacted full payment. Yet, there is an almost cosmic symmetry in the aftermath. Each season, the ex-wives appear lighter, freer, laughing in kitchens unshadowed by him. Meanwhile, the remaining pair brood in their echoing mansion, consumed by envy of the happiness they once sabotaged. It is not merely comeuppance, it is narrative balance. Every manipulative triumph eventually inverts into humiliation when the camera keeps rolling. Cody's greatest fear, irrelevance, is precisely what the show guarantees. Viewers tune in not to admire, but to witness his disintegration. His once commanding monologues now resemble late-night ramblings of a man trying to sell himself a story he no longer buys. Robyn, caught beside him, grimaces through every public display of affection, her body language a masterclass in polite revulsion. The union survives only as content, and so the autopsy concludes. The marriage remains technically alive, its heart beating out of habit, its lungs inflated by residual fame, but the spirit departed long ago. What persists is a televised haunting, a pair of egos wandering the corridors of their former glory, speaking lines written by denial. They are not villains in the traditional sense. Villains require purpose. They are what's left after purpose burns away. Two addicts clutching the same empty bottle, still insisting there's something inside. Reality television, ever the unmerciful mirror, will preserve them exactly as they are. preserved specimens of self-infatuation, proof that visibility without introspection is a slow suicide performed in high definition. Their faces, tightened, powdered, half-smiling, will remain on screen long after the emotion has died, looping endlessly as a cautionary tale. In the end, the Browns achieved what no sermon could, a living exhibit of ego's natural lifespan. It begins in charm, matures into spectacle, and ends in exhaustion. Theirs is a morality tale for an age addicted to exposure, a reminder that some people don't crave love at all, only the reflection of being watched. And when the watching stops, when the applause fades, all that's left are the remains of the show. Two ghosts rehearsing affection for an audience that already left the theater. Subscribe, because silence only protects the wrong people.